If I just let her go, I'm waiting for closure. But what if I close it? If I
Yeah.
say, right, it's over, then I'm releasing the emotions that come with that. And they do differ, but there is a model, the grieving process. But if I get nasty and be bad towards the other, what I'm doing is trading in the grieving process for guilt more often than not, and a bit of shame, feeling a bit embarrassed, maybe a bit of small later, because like you say, it feels good at the moment.
Yeah.
But then you're left with a residue. So what I'm actually doing is trading in the grieving process for a set of feelings that I possibly know or I don't like, but I've got more accustomed to.
Mm.
And yet the work is to just learn to close it, positively walk away, and it's creating a positive ending. And the irony is, that's why there's neurosis in this, because the irony is the best out of the two of them is the closure and walking away. It's the easiest and it's the most productive. And also, then we don't carry baggage. So we don't take that baggage into the next one.
Yeah.
We let the baggage go by going through the process, whatever that is.
That's so fascinating. You're trading one emotion for the more familiar one.
Actually, I mean,
Yeah.
a great example in today's world is I'm scared of whatever. I'm scared of rejection. So what I'll do is I'll obsess over the fear and cause anxiety.
Hmm.
So what I do is I don't deal with the fear. I create anxiety. Well, I'm not addressing the fear. If I stay with the fear, then I can confront the fear or back up from it. But what I do is I create another feeling that I've got used to, anxiety with anxious types.
Yeah.
And you're not actually doing the work on the fear as being the work. So I prefer anxiety and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's interesting. I see that a lot with, I don't work with guys so much anymore on sort of like cold approaching. That's something that used to be very popular.
I
And
heard of that, yeah.
yeah, it's something I did a ton of. I feel like it was sort of like the most important part of the early stage of the journey for me, because I had this desire when I'd see a beautiful girl just to go talk to her, make conversation, shoot my shot. But I had crippling approach anxiety. And what you just said was really fascinating, because it was like, yeah, there was a fear here. And then I went to this anxious place, which wouldn't allow me to act. Ultimately, I got over it by replacing the anxiety with a bigger pain, right? Either like being with a buddy who would call me a pussy or a wimp or whatever if I didn't go approach her, right? Or attending a $3,000 boot camp where if you don't do it, you're out that money and you'll feel even more like a failure. So simply, replacing the, carrots and sticks phenomenon effectively. But ultimately, when I muscled through enough of them, the anxiety was replaced with more of a excitement feeling. Instead of being scared to get on the roller coaster, you're just a little bit like, "Ooh, this is going to be fun," instead of "This is going to be scary." And then it became one of my favorite things to do, and kind of like oh wow, I can just leave the house and I might end up on a date. How fantastic!
It becomes exciting, not anxious.
Exactly.
And that's an interesting point, isn't it, Robbie? What changed? What was the switch from anxiety to excitement? And you raised a really interesting point. You can work through the fear through the excitement, but the problem is you don't gain the direct information early. It's a harder way of doing it. But the good news is it takes a lot of tenacity, and that can be very growing. That can help us grow as well. So it's not a deficit. It just tends to be a longer way round than if you sit with the fear and go and confront the fear. I'm
Mm,
scared of going and approaching that woman because she might reject me. Now
yeah.
that's black and white, isn't it?
Right.
But if I create anxiety and that gets like big, and I have to muster up all of these games to get in there, it's a harder way of doing it, I think.
For sure. And the thing that was the most effective for me getting over it was simply being honest with the words on the approach. One of my favorite lines was, "Hey, I had to risk embarrassing the hell out of myself to come over and meet you." And me saying that allowed me to release the fear. And her hearing that put her in a position of, okay, well, I don't want to embarrass this guy by being too rude or mean or blowing him off. So it's kind of like a weird little funny social contract that was created. And I tell my clients with worse approach anxiety, I say, just run up and say, "Hey, I have terrible social anxiety. I just wanted to say hi. I'm going to run away now." And I'm like, can you at least do that? Like remove the whole, I have to get her number, or I have to have this go well. If you can remove that and simply like go confront the fear, I feel like that helps people move through, which I think is similar to what you're saying.
Yeah, you've done the work. You've done the work, and I think that's possibly why you become a coach, because you've done the work. I remember when I was training, my professor saying, "You can't take people to a place you haven't been."
Hmm.
And you've been there, and you've done it, and that's why you're good at what you do, I would suggest.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it was finding, for me, it was, again, the congruence, the honesty. It was finding the words to match how I was feeling. And that's a big thing. I feel like guys who struggle with women and dating, they have a lot of emotions, but they find it very difficult to maybe isolate them and communicate what they're feeling or what they're thinking in a way where a woman can be compassionate and attracted versus them just kind of being robotic and in their head. I work with a lot of more analytical types who I think get kind of stuck.
Do you notice the difference between the old way and the new way when you became congruent, started saying, this is how I feel? And do you remember, if you look back, was there a shift in the way you felt about yourself from the way that you were incongruent, let's say, to congruence?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think I had some wins and some success, so I was less attached to the outcome and more okay with her maybe not liking me. And I managed to get to a place where I preferred being honest over liked. If I could walk away saying, hey, I respect myself because I was straightforward. And I said what I felt, and I said the scary thing. That is better than getting some result by being, dishonest, I guess you could say.
And what makes that better?
Good question. I think it comes back to maybe self-respect or a sense of doing the right thing or not cheating yourself.
We go back to the beginning of this session, really. What is self-esteem? It's at the core, we're all similar, and we don't want to cheat each other or ourselves. That's raising self-esteem. It's like you've done the work, and that shift between what I used to do because I didn't know to what I do now, and what it looks like as well. You've gone away from pleasing to I'm going to survive this if I get rejected.
Wow, yeah, that's really interesting. You're good.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's how we work together, I think.
Right.
That's how you do your work. Self-esteem without confidence is lacking, and vice versa. But again, if we go back to the analogy of you've got a tripod that you can keep raising, but you raise your confidence and self-esteem around the same time, and the baseline goes up with that.
Yeah.
It's your meta baseline. That's how you feel about yourself confidently, and they do entwine as well. Confidently and esteemed, my self-worth is.
Right.
If you've got both of those, you can go up to someone and take the rejection. Yeah, it hurts, of course. I mean, it's going to hurt, especially if you're sensitive, but you're going to survive that.
Right. I'm so glad that the, one of my clients in particular found you, and he was referring you to a bunch of the other guys in the group, which is how you and I ultimately led to chat. And prior, I'd worked with a lot of guys who had worked with therapists before. And surprisingly, or maybe not, I'm curious what your thoughts are. A lot of them worked with female therapists. And there was a bit of a tension, I guess, when they would speak about their coaching with me. Of course, they're talking about running around and picking up women. And that, as a female therapist, right, I would imagine they're a little bit caught in the midst of, well, I see how he's doing this for his development and whatnot. But then the guys would tell me, yeah, I'm lying to my female therapist about what I'm doing. I'm like, that doesn't seem productive. So I'm so glad now that, we have a resource. And for anyone obviously listening, and if you feel like your confidence is rising and maybe your self-esteem is not, you feel bad about yourself, or you don't feel like you're making progress, I feel like, somebody like you, Geoff, who understands it from the male side and also has gone through your own journey. It's such an amazing resource. So
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I used to work in an industry where I made good money and it was a great career. I did this because I've struggled in my life and I've grown with the help of others, and I wanted to give something back. A bit like yourself, you've grown and you've changed, and not only that, you're helping men and women by by your journey of not knowing and then knowing and choosing congruence over incongruence, let's say.
Hmm.
And if you can pass that over and help people see that there is different ways of doing this, and there is a way that you and others will grow, or you and others will not grow.
Yeah,
And I think it's just a wonderful thing that we can both do and help others to feel good about what they're doing. Basically, that if we're summarizing, you can have fun, you can go out, you can have some dopamine, you can have some fun with like-minded people. Nothing wrong with that. But if you can come away and feel good about it, I mean, how bad's that?
exactly. And the women are left better too.
I get women therapists. I've worked with a lot of them, and they are more dominant. I don't know. I think it was about 8 out of 10 when I was training. I think 8 women to 2 guys. I can't
Oh
in the
wow.
UK anyway.
Yeah.
Something like that. But you've got to remember, and I get that a woman might sort of think, oh, hang on, but you've got to remember, is women have got a choice as well. Like the guys have a choice. It's a game, isn't it? It's the dating game.
Yeah.
And, again, if we can promote honesty through congruence and through learning about oneself, no harm done.
Exactly. Yeah, and the better I see clients get in their dating game, they tend to attract, the women that are looking for the same thing they are, right? If they're in this place where they want to, go out and be the guy around town, they'll meet the women that are also, looking to party and have fun and and
The
then
energy, isn't it?
yeah.
We attract the energy. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And then a certain place, I feel like I don't know, for me, it was, I felt like I needed to do all the things I needed to do. And then I'd be very happy in a relationship and more of I guess, a normal, you could say, or traditional lifestyle. I remember going to a therapist when I was 30, and I think it was the first time I ever had a therapy session. And I was battling this decision, this turmoil of should I commit and date this girl who on paper I thought was pretty much perfect. Same values, same religion, all the things that seem to matter. But in the back of my head, it was like the alarm bells going off, you're not ready, you need to have fun, blah, blah, blah. And when I talked to this therapist, who was a brilliant guy in New York City, he said, listen, he asked about my childhood and whatnot. And he's like, you're an athlete. And you've now turned picking up women into your sport, and you're not ready to retire. And I'm like, you're right. That's exactly how I feel.
And it's knowing yourself again, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
like getting to a point where that therapist has just said that, and yeah, that's right. He's held a mirror up and said, have a look at that,
Right.
and you've gone, yeah, that resonates. This has gone on when I was a young guy. I was probably about 14 or 15. I started dating. And my dad said to me, go and have fun, get it out your system. So when
Yeah.
you settle down, you're ready. So this is nothing new. It's just that it's everywhere now, social media and stuff. It was just the family and dad normally telling the son, or and mum telling the daughter a different thing back then. But
Right.
this is nothing new. This has
Yeah.
been around for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah,
And,
that's
a
fantastic.
lot of women today say they want to get it out of their system as well before
Oh
they have
yeah,
kids. I
totally.
think it's a very healthy attitude if that's what you choose. If you don't, that's fine as well.
Yeah. At first I was like, I want to get it out of my system, but I have no idea how. But figuring out how is the fun part, I guess, or can be the tough part. But um, yeah. So anyways, Geoff, I so appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom. I know your practice is pretty full at the moment, but if people are interested in working with you and whatnot, what's the best way they can learn about that?
Yeah, you could pass over my details to on WhatsApp. I sometimes have a bit of a waiting list, but I usually get round to people fairly quickly. I have a bit of a revolving door thing. People come and they go and they come back, and
Hmm.
Some people stay for a long time, but so there's movement. So I'll always put somebody on the list, and as long as it's not an emergency, I can refer them to somebody else. Or if they can wait, I can help them, hopefully. And as we're talking about today, and
Hmm.
find the congruence, find what feels good, move away from what I'm caught up in, all of those things. And by the methods I spoke to you about today, Robbie. And yeah, no therapist will say there's 100% guarantee, but got a pretty good success rate in this.
Yeah.